Welcome, welcome. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Thank you. All right. And we are continuing, of course, with Noah. And it's on verse 16, where God is giving Noah the instructions regarding the ark. And we'll take a look at this verse. It's fairly long. Anyway, Tzohar Ta'aseh Lateva, we discussed that, right? A light, right? Or a window or something like that, right? A source of illumination. How's that? You shall make for the ark, ve'el amat techalena milmala, and you shall finish it off to a cubit above, ufetach teva betziva tasim, and an opening for the ark on its side you shall place. We discussed all of those things, that it doesn't mean just one window, it means source of illumination, and it doesn't mean just one door or an opening, it means, openings, right, etc. And then it goes, we are going to discuss this cubit from above, right? Tachtiyim, Shnayim, Ushlishim. First, under and second and third. It's talking about levels, right? 3 levels. So let's take a look here. El Amma Vagomer. So, and to a cubit. I explained it yesterday, actually, in our previous lesson. Actually turned out to be right. So, my Ta'ama, for what reason? The Bahachi Huda Kaima, because with this it would stand firm, right? It would be able to endure. Sharfstein, the guy who translated Torah Temimah into English, translates it as stand firm. I think, Kayam means to endure, right? So there's Keren Kayemet Yisrael, very old fund, the Keren Kayemet. So it means the fund for the foundation of Israel, right? So that Israel will endure. That's the purpose of it. So there's a footnote here. What does this mean, right? We just know that the reason for doing that was so that the ark would be able to endure. Kisui mishupa for olah. Okay, so the idea is that kisui is a covering. Mishupa means sloping, so a sloping covering upward for olah. It goes up or oleh ad sheyitkatzir v'yamod alama, so that it gets narrower and narrower as it forms. As you have this vision, right? You're able to visualize this roof, right? Alama, and it would come to the top of it would then be 1 cubit wide, right? So that would slope upwards to a point where it was a cubit wide. Kedei sheyikalchu hamayim, so that the water would flow off of the roof, milamala lamata, from above to below. Right, so that's what it. Can you imagine if that ark had not had that sloping roof? It had a flat roof. It probably would have pitched over at some point, and certainly would have caused a problem. We commented a little bit about this yesterday too. All right, so that explains that particular class. Now, tachtiyim v'gomer. So now we're talking about lower and second and third, right? Tani, it is taught, tachtiyim lezevel, that the lower level was for dung, emtsaim lebehema, the middle level was for the cattle or for the animals, el yonim la'adam, and the upper level was for human habitation, right? So let's take a look for kaftala. Here we go. Uva midrashim, and in the midrashim, yesh bazeh gersot shonot v'hafuchot. There are actually versions of this. Girsa is a version, right, of a text that are different and opposite. Hafuch means upside down, right? That is to say, the Elyonim Lezvalim, they explain that the upper level was in fact for dung, for the excrement, shelo ya'aleh reach ra, so that a bad odor shouldn't go up, milamata lamala, from the lower level to the upper level. Aval yesh lekayem girsa shelefanenu. So Torah Temimah says, no, there are reasons to establish, right, the version that is before us, the one that we just read. Demala yesh dema'ala yesh batachtonim lesvalim, because there's a benefit to having the lower levels for dung. Sheyuchal hazevel, so that the dung yuchal laredet, it can go down, it can laredet chutza, can go out below, right? So exactly does. By the way, yeah. So exactly how it went outside, were there openings or something of some kind that they could shovel the dung, or is it simply the fact that the dung could just fall to the bottom level, which is what it certainly sounds like, right? But that they wouldn't have to deal with dung falling on them or anything like that, that there was a natural progression, right, because of gravity. So, at any rate, just these are details that come out of looking at the text carefully. Going on. Va'ani, God is still speaking to Noah, and as for me, hineni mevi et hamabul mayim al haaretz. Behold, right, indeed, I am bringing the flood of water al haaretz, on the earth. So exactly the word mabul, right? We're going to look at that. What does mabul, as we're going to see, because Torah Temimah is going to analyze this word a little bit more as to its root and what it means. But it has to do with something that means destruction, right? A devastation of water on the earth. And it's, although I've normally been translating the word mabul as a flood, it's possible that this word actually means devastation, right? Leshachet, to destroy kol basar, all flesh, asher bo ruach hayim, in which there is the breath of life. Mitachat hashamayim, from underneath the heavens. Kol asher ba'aretz yigva, anything that is in the earth or on the earth will perish. So let's take a look here. Vani, as for me, v'gomer, etc. Tanu Rabbanan, our rabbis taught, Dor Hamabul, Lo Nitka'u, right? The generation of the flood only became arrogant, Ela Bishvil Tova, Sheishvil Lahem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, only on account of all the good that the Holy One, blessed be He, bestowed upon them. Again, I'm using Scharfstein's translation. It's a lovely translation. Right? So think about that. They only became arrogant because of all the blessings that were bestowed upon them, not of their own, not of their own doing, but that God had bestowed upon them. V'hayu omrim, and they would say, or think, right? Klum anu tzrichim lo? Do we really need him, right? But let's go on with the sentence, because it's a no ella, which means we only. In kluma, indeed, we only need him, ella letipat shel gamshamim, for a droplet of rain, just a little drop of rain. That's the only reason we need him. Yeah, it's a good thing he does. Just a drop of rain. Yeshlan, because we have Naharot, we've got rivers, Umayanot, and wells, She'anu mistapkin bahem, from which we derive all that we need. We can survive. We get enough from those rivers and those wells. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So again, said the Holy One, blessed be He, or thought the Holy One, blessed be He. Tova sheishbati lahen, in the very good, in the blessings and the good things that I give to them, that I've bestowed upon them, ba machisin oti, in that very thing they provoke me. Uva ani danotam, and so with that I am going to judge them. Shinemar, in other words, punish them. But the idea of done means retribution, right? Shine'emar, as it states in the text, Shine'emar always introduces a quote from the Bible. Va'ani, as for me, hineni mevi et hamabul mayim. Behold, I bring this destruction of water. I will tell you that there is a great deal of profundity to this statement, because we don't recognize the blessings which are bestowed on us. And it's that statement that I've come to treasure which is appreciation, is the very essence and foundation of spirituality. And to be able to see these blessings. And I will tell you that coming from the Midwest, which is a blessed area, to California, which is absolutely amazing with its Mediterranean climate, I realized how blessed a state California really is. And does it make us arrogant? That is the question. Well, talk about being privileged, entitled, having a sense of entitlement. I don't know. But I think that the psychology that is being discussed here has, sadly, some legitimacy to it. Is it everyone? Not at all. Not at all. But in general, do we really recognize the blessings that we encounter? So many, moment to moment, and realize that they are blessings, they're miracles, every moment. And the other day on Shabbat, I was taking my walk, and for whatever the reason is, I was thinking about a walk that I used to take in South Africa. I want to actually write this up. Uh, there was a hill. I used to take the bus, and to get the bus stop, I had to go up and down this hill. And on one time when I was there, I was passing a house that had there was plenty of property there, and there was a house that had a driveway, and the driveway at the curb had these two pillars. And inside one of the pillars, on the inside, that is the side facing the house, it was a square pillar. And the side that faced the house had a plaque on it. And on that plaque was a poem that I actually memorized. And the poem goes, "Slow me down, Lord, I'm going too fast. I don't see my neighbor when he's walking past. I miss a lot of good things day by day. I don't see a blessing when it comes my way." For some reason, I was thinking about it, right? I was young, in my teens at the time when I came across that verse. And I guess probably at the time I was tickled by the verse, but didn't realize the depth of thought that it really represented. So let's take a look at what Torah Temimah has to say about this. Okay. So here we go. We are looking at number 25 here. Yitachen, it would appear, the medayek, that he is looking carefully, he's examining very carefully, milat mabul, this word, mabul. Sheshorashor, its root is naval, the word naval, which, by the way, and I looked this up in Jastro, it's also related to the word bala, right? Bala, to basically, it has to do with decay, something like that, right? V'hor ato, so its connotation is hashchata, destruction, v'kilyon, and decay. And I did some other thought as well, right? The word tevel is also related to the word tavlin, spices or mixture. So why it's related, and I think there is a relationship, is that possibly spices, I think, and especially I think it's talking about, blends of spices, but they take away an initial, in this case, it's a good thing, right? We add spices to add interest, right, to the food that we're eating. But what it does is it takes away the initial flavor and gives us a new one, possibly. It also has to do with the word balal, which has to do with mixing things up, right? And of course, you mix spices with other things. Here is I think, where this is really coming from. You realize that the very first act of creation was a distinction, the creation of Havdalah. the ability to distinguish between day and night, between seas and dry land, between heaven and earth. The ability to make distinctions is an essential element to the world in which we live. We actually do live in a binary universe that is binary in its very essence. And in fact, there can be no knowledge without the ability to make distinctions. And that is why this word mabul, which is referring to sort of mixing together, blending together, where everything becomes just one inchoate mass of things. And it has to do with that. And of course, I realize we talk about I'm talking about, thinking about it, you know, racial discrimination, right? We talk about the word discrimination. And the word discrimination in general, as I've reflected on it, has a bad connotation because we associate it with racial discrimination, which is used to abuse classes of people. And yet, the ability to discriminate and the degree to which one is able to discriminate has a tremendous positive force in terms of knowledge. In other words, you think of a person who is a connoisseur. By the way, of course, the word connoisseur has to do with a French root meaning knowledge, right, of wine, and a connoisseur who can distinguish between the variety of grapes and the year those grapes, I mean, the degree of knowledge involved in being able to discriminate. And discrimination has to do with a binary, the idea of binary. So this Mabul is this getting this kind of decayed into nothing, right? And you've heard me say many times that the more you know something, the more you're capable of deconstructing it. And of course, that's what we're doing. We are deconstructing the text in this way. So, moving on. Kamo, here we go. Navla haaretz, right? The earth has become, it was destroyed, right? Decayed. Navla, tevel, the world was, became decayed, destroyed. Vidarish, and the reason he is looking at it this way, in other words, this whole thing which says on account of water, right? Mipnei shemikodem, the reason is that initially, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, said, Vehinini mashchitam stam. In other words, originally, God simply said, I'm going to destroy them, without saying how. Stam means, in general. I'm going to destroy them in general. V'hashchata, and it's possible that this destruction, if Sharliyot could have come about, al yedei dvarim harbe. There are many ways in which things can get destroyed, right? In which God could have destroyed the world, right? Al yedei dvarim harbe, kamo esh v'gofrit, fire and brimstone, right? And for example, we could say in an asteroid hitting the Earth, right? That's pretty destructive. We think possibly the dinosaurs came to an end that way. Varash haaretz, or an earthquake. We know how pretty destructive earthquakes can be. V'acharkach, but after this general statement of destroying the world, acharkach, afterwards, piresh, he goes on to specify. Hineni mevi et hamabul. I am going to bring this mabul, right? Or ta hashchata, that is to say, hamabul, the destruction, the devastation, that hashchata, that destruction, asher amarti, right? That I referred to, tiyeh al yedei mayim, will be by means of water. Lachain. And so the question now becomes, why dafka did God choose water? Lachain, and for that reason, darish hasiba v'tam hadavar, that the reason and the rationale for this thing, shebachar hakadosh baruch hu et hamayim, that the Holy One Besbihi chose water by way of destruction, the hashchata zo, for this particular act of destruction. And we will leave it here for today. So, oops, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm going to stop the share. And again, while we're on for the record, any questions or any comments or any thoughts? Okay, all right, very good.
Why
Carl,
did,
yeah, go
why
ahead.
did um, um, Noah put these animals in why did you put them in cages? Because a lion could eat a lamb,
So,
and they're going wild on that boat.
right. So remember the last time we discussed this, we explained that it says kinim ta'aseh la teva, that God says you shall make cabins for this ark. And that's what we're talking about. So we are talking exactly the point you're making, Harlan, that God was telling Noah to create cages or compartments for
Oh.
animals so that they wouldn't be doing exactly what you're saying.
Okay, well, what I can't understand is the smell would be terrible if those animals weren't cleaned, and also Noah and his wives and his sons,
Yeah.
where did they get their baths? They were on that ark for 150 days.
No, no.
Did they have a bathroom or something?
Thought
And
they were
what?
basically, was it 150 days? I could have been a year actually. Yeah. So even more. Uh, you know something? My daddy used to say, you know, it's a Misa, it's a story. If you start digging into that kind of stuff, right, then you're not going to get the answers you want, okay?
I
You
want another answer. I
yes,
want another answer. Why didn't Noah shout to the people, uh, uh, get rid of your sins? God is going to kill you. So throw your idols away and get rid of your sins. He
there we
should
go.
notify them, and then they would have been just saved.
Harlan, you know human nature, don't you? Come on. You know, what do most people do? Look at what goes on. When you tell people don't want to hear what they're doing wrong, they don't want to. They fight back. They push back. Uh, as it us, we have stories about how when the rain started to fall, that the people tried to prevent Noah from going on board the ark. They tried to stop him from doing what he was doing.
Wow.
And the truth is that he years before the flood, he was raising these trees. He was growing these gopher trees, and people were saying, "Why are you growing these gopher trees?" And he was saying, "Well, God is going to bring a flood to destroy the world." And guess what they did, Harlan? I'll let you guess what they did. What do you think they did?
They did the reverse on him.
Well, quite probably they continued doing what they wanted, and they thought he was crazy, right? They laughed at him.
Right,
They
right.
said he was an idiot.
Oh,
Okay.
I thought you were going to say that they cut down the trees.
Well, they did other sorts of things. You're right. There may be stories that talk about that too, David.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Because,
It's
yeah.
that's the point about it. So Harlan, you're asking the right questions, but we know why he didn't. He did the best he could. Look, we know that Abraham was able to do it in his own way, and I think the way he did it was that he and Sarah were so hospitable and kind, and that they really try to use their kindness as a way to help people understand how they should be modeled. They tried to be role models. On the other hand, during Noah's time, it could be that things had gotten so bad at this point that there was no hope. Look, I hope there's hope for humanity at this point. We certainly seem to be on an interesting path. Judith, we're still on the record, but I'd love to hear what you have to say if you'd like it on the record.
No, nothing to add, thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.